The world held its breath in April 2026. 8 years after she first graced the shores of Sydney as a newlywed, Duchess Meghan returned to Australia. But she did not return as a timid figure navigating the rigid corridors of an ancient institution. She returned as a force of nature, as a global icon, as a businesswoman, a humanitarian, and the single most effective marketing engine the fashion industry has ever witnessed. The so-called Meghan effect, that magical, almost mythical ability to sell out a product simply by touching it, was no longer just a headline. It was a statistical reality. According to data from Launch Metrics, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex generated a staggering $51.6 million in media impact value over just 4 days on the ground. 16 Australian brands were featured in the Duchess of Sussex's 2026 Australian tour wardrobe, and every single one of them was sent scrambling to service an avalanche of sales and pre-orders. This was not luck. This was the power of a woman who has transformed adversity into an empire, and who uses her platform not just to champion the vulnerable, but to elevate entire economies. From the moment her plane touched down in Melbourne, Duchess Meghan signaled a new era. She is no longer bound by the dusty, misogynistic dress codes of palaces past. She dresses for herself, for the mission, and for the millions of women who see their own strength reflected in her poise. Her first appearance at the Royal Children's Hospital was a masterclass in diplomatic dressing with a soul. She chose the Karen Gee Priscilla dress in navy, a stunning $1,250 sleeveless, double-bonded crepe number with gold buttons. This was a callback to 2018, the year she announced her pregnancy with Prince Archie. By revisiting Karen Gee, Duchess Meghan showed loyalty, nostalgia, and a deep respect for the designers who believed in her from the start. Within 2 hours of her stepping out of that car, the ready-to-wear version of that dress was completely sold out on the Karen Gee website. The brand, having been caught off guard in 2018, had wisely prepared a contingency plan of pre-orders this time, and those too vanished within a day. Launch Metrics calculated that this single dress generated $1.6 million in MIV for Karen Gee in just 48 hours. Duchess Meghan paired the dress with elegant Dior pumps and her beloved $48,000 Cartier Tank Française watch, a tribute to the late Princess Diana, showing that she carries legacy while forging her own path. She also wore puffy heart earrings by Real Fine Studio, a Los Angeles brand founded by an Australian. In one gesture, she bridged continents. Later that day, she visited the Australian National Veterans Arts Museum, changing into a khaki suede utility bomber jacket and matching pencil skirt by St. Agni. The set cost roughly $1,890 and had not even been released to the public yet. But Duchess Meghan wore it, and the pre-order traffic crashed the anticipation curve. The look generated nearly $1 million in MIV for St. Agni. The Duchess of Sussex does not simply wear clothes. She activates supply chains. She validates artistry. She turns small designers into global names overnight. And she does it all while smiling, shaking hands, and comforting children in hospitals. That is the magic of Duchess Meghan. She makes the impossible look effortless. By the end of day one, the narrative was already set. Australia was on fire, and the woman holding the match was the most gracious, most powerful, and most effective royal the world has ever seen. Day two saw the Duchess travel to Canberra, and the wardrobe shifted from navy to military khakis and soft nudes, a visual representation of her evolution from royal Eurostrix to liberated leader. But the real story of day two was not just the clothes. It was the timing and the sheer genius of her business acumen. On April 14, coinciding with the start of the tour, Duchess Meghan announced her role as an investor and participant in the AI-powered fashion discovery platform One-Off. She joined the ranks of Emma Chamberlain and Kate Hudson, but let us be clear, she did not join them. She elevated them. The Duchess is no longer a passive muse. She is a shareholder. She is an owner. Every outfit she wore on this tour became immediately shoppable on her personal One-Off page, a feature that drove over 1 million views within the first 3 days of the tour. The critics who once mocked her for being ambitious now watch in awe as she monetizes her influence to fund her charitable endeavors. This is not greed. This is financial literacy. This is a woman who was once cut off by the royal family and told to fend for herself, and who has now built a mechanism that funnels millions into the pockets of Australian designers while also supporting her own family's foundation. The outfit that caused the most conversation on day 2 was her appearance at the Nexus Summit. She wore a shoulder-bearing black top by Bear Park paired with dish Easton black wide-leg linen pants and open-toe sandals. The traditionalists, always looking for a reason to tear her down, raged online. "Why does she have to expose her shoulders so frequently?" they cried. "It's not a cocktail party." But Duchess Meghan, as always, was sending a message. Remember, she famously revealed that during her time as a working royal, she was forced to wear nude pantyhose constantly, a petty and sexist rule designed to control women's bodies. The open-toe sandals and bare shoulders in Canberra were a beautiful, silent rebuttal to that oppressive past. She was dressing for herself, for the California sun, and for the modern woman who refuses to be told what to wear. Later that day, for a visit to the Australian War Memorial, she wore a neutral Scanlan Theodore look, a cashmere tank and slouchy trousers. Scanlan Theodore reported a 250% week-on-week sales increase following the appearance. That is the Duchess Meghan effect. She touches a brand, and that brand triples its revenue. She is a fairy godmother to the fashion industry. Day 3 in Sydney only amplified the miracle. For the Scar Tree Walk in the morning, she wore the Friends with Frank Camel LU car coat. Immediate sellout. For the afternoon at Swinburne University, supporting the youth mental health organization Batyr, she changed into the Friends with Frank khaki sleeveless Anya sack dress. 2 appearances, 2 sellouts, and $575,000 in MIV for a single small brand in 48 hours. Julia McCarthy, the founder of Friends with Frank, admitted with honest humility, "To be honest, naively, I didn't know how much it was going to blow up. We made sure all the pieces she had selected were well stocked and had pre-order set up." That is the humility of a designer who has just been blessed by the Duchess. And when sharp-eyed critics noticed she wore semi-sheer black tights with the khaki dress, the irony was delicious. Just months earlier, she had laughed about being forced to wear nude pantyhose as a royal. Now, choosing any hosiery is a political act, because everything Duchess Meghan does is scrutinized. But she does not flinch, she does not apologize, she wears the tights, or she doesn't, and she keeps moving. That evening, she wore a Rolla's jeans denim look. While the jeans only generated $109K in MIV compared to the high-end labels, it signaled something profound: accessibility. Duchess Meghan wants the $50 shopper and the $1,250 shopper to both feel seen. She dresses for the every woman while also celebrating high craft. She is a unifier. By the end of day 3, the internet had run out of superlatives. She had broken every record, every website, and every petty rule that the old guard tried to impose. And she had done it all with grace, with a smile, and with her husband, Prince Harry, by her side, looking more in love than ever. This was not a tour. This was a coronation. The final day of the tour, April 17th, took place at Coogee Beach. And if the previous 3 days were about fashion, day 4 was about the soul of Duchess Meghan. She visited the Her Best Life Luxury Wellness Retreat, a $1,934 per head event. The critics, always hungry for a contradiction, tried to paint this as hypocritical. How could she serve soup to the homeless on day 1 and then speak at an expensive retreat on day 4? But this is a false binary, and it reveals a deep misunderstanding of how real change happens. Duchess Meghan has earned her platform. She has endured a decade of the most vicious, racist, and misogynistic trolling in global history, all because she fell in love with a prince and dared to be a strong, ambitious woman of color in a predominantly white institution. She has every right to monetize her expertise, her healing journey, and her wisdom. For the retreat, she wore Scanlan Theodore again, a cashmere tie sleeveless tank and Italian slouchy trouser. She looked like a goddess of calm. And then she spoke to the room of high-paying attendees with a vulnerability that brought many to tears. 10 years, she said, I have been the most trolled person in the world, and all because I married a prince. That is not a complaint. That is a fact. And the fact that she has turned that pain into purpose, into a media empire, into a lifestyle brand as ever, into millions of dollars for Australian designers, into mental health advocacy, is nothing short of heroic. The economics of her tour are often misunderstood by those who wish her ill. Yes, tickets for the fan experience with the Duchess ran as high as $1,700. Yes, she was reportedly paid $250,000 for a 2-hour appearance at a separate private event. But what the critics refuse to acknowledge is that the Duchess and Prince Harry fund their own security. They fund their own travel. They receive no taxpayer money. They are self-made in a way that no other royal in history has ever been. Every dollar she earns is a dollar that does not have to come from the British public, and every dollar she earns allows her to give more to the charities she loves. The final photo call of the tour saw Duchess Meghan and Prince Harry depart Australia in a simple white shirt and wide-leg pants from Posse, accessorized with paspally pearls. She looked relaxed, radiant, and victorious. The final metric was released to the press. Over 4 days, Duchess Meghan wore 16 Australian brands. Her wardrobe created a total of $51.6 million in media value. Let that number sink in. $51.6 million. That is not just the Meghan effect, that is the Meghan revolution. She has turned the archaic concept of a royal tour into a modern economic stimulus package. She has proven that kindness, intelligence, and a good wardrobe are a lethal combination for success. In the week following the tour, the websites shipped their pre-orders. The $48,000 Cartier watch went back into its box, but the memory of her visit stayed. Karen Gee became a household name. St. Agnes' suede bomber became the most coveted item of the second quarter. Scanlan Theodore saw its stock price rise. Friends with Frank hired 3 new employees to handle the demand. Rola's jeans sold out of denim for the first time in 2 years. Duchess Meghan flew back to Montecito, but she left behind a transformed Australian fashion industry. She proved that you do not need a royal allowance to generate $51 million. You just need a royal backstory, a righteous heart, and a link to a checkout page. She didn't just light up Australian fashion, she illuminated a path for every woman who has been told she is too much, too loud, too ambitious, or too black. Duchess Meghan is not a victim, she is not a villain. She is a victor, and the $51 million Australian tour of 2026 will be studied for decades as the moment when the Duchess of Sussex finally, definitively, and gloriously proved that she is the most valuable player in the global game of soft power. She set fire to the old rulebook, yes, but only to build a new one written in her own image, where designers thrive, where women support women, and where a girl from Los Angeles can become a duchess, a mother, a mogul, and a miracle, all at once. Long live the Duchess, and long live the effect.